Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast. We have Gil Bar Lev with us. He is CEO at HomeRoots. And today we're going to talk about this business, but we're also going to talk about entrepreneurship, mental models, product market fit, AI. And yeah, his business specifically is wholesale and retail. So interested in learning more about what HomeRoots does. This podcast is presented to you by podpire.com. If you want to start your own podcast, if you want to scale and monetize the unconventional way, you can go to podpire.com. Gil, welcome to Pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself, HomeRoots, and what you're up to now.
Okay, Charles, thank you very much for hosting me. It's a pleasure being here. So, listen, if you want to sell a product in the market, and let's say you want to sell it to consumers, I'm sure everybody knows about plenty of platforms, like you got Amazon, you got Shopify, BigCommerce, eBay. Now there's a lot of mobile apps. You can go, right, and sell to direct to consumer. But to go big, you got to sell to retail. And now there isn't really a platform for that, right? That will get you actually in. Or maybe there is, and now it's called HomeRoots, right? So that's what we do. In a home category, home vertical, if you have a product, if you manufacture a product, and you want to ensure that retailers will actually offer your products for sale, you come through us. You upload your products to HomeRoots. We're going to make sure that retailers are going to put your products in front of their customer base. Not just in the US, we're starting to we're expanding more and more and more to other regions, other countries, pretty much around the globe. So that's in a nutshell, HomeRoots. Now about myself, I've been in the direct-to-consumer world for a long time. I had one exit under my belt in the e-commerce. When you go and shop for toys on Amazon, just say hi. I'm the one who got it all started for them. So I have a good understanding of e-commerce. I have a good understanding of entrepreneurship. I know the challenges. More than happy to talk to you about the mindset, market fit, product market fit, and how to get it all started. Charles, I'm sure you have lots of questions.
I do. I want to start with the struggle because it's not an easy category. So what's been your story so far? What challenges have you faced as an entrepreneur? How did you surmount the?
Sure. So the challenge that I had when I started this is first to figure out, I realized that I want to offer the solution to get into retail, but what segment, what category I should really start with. And in my previous years, I've dealt with many different categories. Right? Eventually, I landed on the furniture decor space because I realized that this category is antiquated, fragmented. And yes, all categories are dependent on logistics, but this one is very painful. Dependency on the logistics, because if you, for example, getting a sofa that you don't like, you can't just drop it off at the post office or the nearest FedEx store. Now you got a very upset customer. So service has to be top-notch and logistics has to be top-notch. And I said, there's too many problems here to solve. One will be just too boring for me. And that's what landed me to deal with that.
So, okay, and you had experience in that category because I see that first startup, or at least that I think that I saw on your profile here, Presence for You, right? That was your first company.
Yes.
That was in 2004. Amazon's
Right.
was just like picking up traction back then. How have you seen the landscape evolved, and how have you taken advantage of these opportunities yourself?
So I've even the days over there in Presence for You in the earlier days, actually did not deal with furniture at all. I dealt with toys, apparels, appliances, housewares, a lot of personal care items, different type, really all over the scale type of products. I saw it evolve, and I saw how Amazon actually getting to dominate the online presence, mainly on the small and light products. This is really their strength. As far as goes to the big and bulky, they're having challenges there. Okay, even today, this is still not a category that they dominate. I can tell you there is no one player that dominates this industry, and Amazon doesn't even own 1% of the market share in that vertical. So I saw how over the years Amazon is getting more and more a dominant power as far as it goes to different verticals, but this is still a vertical that they have yet to penetrate due to the logistical issues that are unique to items of those size. So
Right. And then you saw, I guess, that there was a gap in the B2B space, right? Your
yes,
website very much feels B2C. So
correct.
what is your strategy? How do you get people to sell you stuff, and how do you get people to buy you stuff?
Yeah, sure. So to sell the stuff, simple. So we started off with a motto: how do you make the B2B shopping and selling experience same or even better than the B2C? Okay. So if we start off with that, right? If we create an experience that's familiar to them, like a B2C experience, they feel more comfortable and more reliant to actually participate in the game. Okay. Now, the way to start off selling on our platform is very simple. If you manufacture, you apply to become a supplier on our platform. There's a form that you got to fill out. It's a very simple form, nothing's crazy. You're not signing off your mortgage, but you get those products, and then you basically start your onboarding process of onboarding your products onto our platform, similar to any other e-commerce platform. Nothing different than that. On the buying side, we're already well connected with some of the leading retailers in the space, right? So when you upload the products onto us, you get exposed to two different verticals. On one hand, you get exposed to our small business community all around the nation in Canada. On the other hand, those products will get pushed automatically on your behalf to all major retailers that were already well connected. And if we will add another retailer down the line, you don't have to do anything special. We're already going to make sure that that retailer is going to offer your product to sell to their customers. That's pretty much has been our ongoing. We see how customers are, how suppliers are coming on board, finding us, getting the products onboarded, and start making some money, right? And statistics shows that we're able to convert customer to order faster than many of our competition out there or other sales channels that are out there.
Right. So the platform you started that couple of years ago, 2 million annual revenue, right? Is that somewhat accurate?
No, we're already north of 10, but
Okay, that's pretty
yeah.
good. So how did you get there? Like, what marketing strategy do you put forward to get that much visitors and buyers and stuff?
So the way we started in early days is we got connected to, we said, let's crack the most. Okay, let me actually go one step backward. The first thing, we had to find suppliers. We got to fill in the shelves, right? Before we even go out there to the market to sell something, we need to have product to sell. So we went on to different trade shows, domestic trade shows. We met with different potential suppliers. I remember me going. Those were hard days at that time, mainly because many suppliers could not really understand what we are. Okay, and I will be happy to elaborate on that. It took them some time to understand the business model, but our goal was to find suppliers that can actually upload. We can take the products and upload their products onto our platform. A lot of that at that time, a lot of the things we did the heavy lifting. Nobody knew us. Nobody wanted to take care of it or worry about it. Said, okay, you know what? Just take your products and upload it. I want to be hands off. But for us, that was good enough. We just needed the authorization to sell the products in the market. Once we had the products in the market, we said, okay, we got to bring in something new, something that those guys don't already bring to the market because the physical products are there. But what's my personal strength? What am I with my own personal experience as a founder, as an entrepreneur? What can I do better than what those guys can do? Okay. And what I could do better is e-commerce sales. That was my strength. Okay. So looking into content, looking into imagery, looking into keywords, looking into distribution. I said, okay, I can put those products and make sure that those products that those guys are already selling in the market, but the products that will come through me will have a lot more visibility than any other option out there. And that's where I put most of my efforts in. And once those guys saw that despite all their market set, what they thought it's completely market saturation, that there you don't need another customer like us, they realized, okay, wow, this guy coming out of nowhere doesn't get even the best pricing at that point, able to generate that amount of money. What's the secret sauce here, right? And so my advice, going to entrepreneurs, starting a business, starting this new thing, is realize that come forward with expectations that, hey, you're not, to the eyes of you may have a great idea, and most people have great ideas, okay? But having a great idea is just the first step. That's not enough. It's all about the execution. It's all about how do you differentiate yourself from the competition? What added value you can bring to your customers that no one else can bring, or it's very hard for others to bring. And then double down on that. Double down, believe in yourself, in your own skills, in your capabilities to make a difference. And that's, from my own experience, that's what I've done. And then once my suppliers saw that sales are coming through, the word starts spreading around in the market. And then the next thing I know, some other guys came along, and I heard you doing that, and I heard you did that for that, did that for that. And the word of mouth, it's what actually grew the business to where it is today.
And who do you model yourself on? Like Amazon, Alibaba? Like who do you look up to?
It's actually the opposite, I will say, Charles. It's actually how can I not be like them? It's the opposite. I'm looking at what they're doing and I'm saying, I don't want to do what they're doing. I want to do something different. Now, I have my own mantra. I'm not constantly looking left and right at what my competition is doing, or even though I'm not considering Amazon as my competition, if not for nothing, they're actually one of our customers. But the way I look at that is that what can I do that they don't necessarily do already? And that I can provide that added value, filling that white space that other are not doing. But since you mentioned Amazon, I'll give you one thing that is kudos about them. Kudos to them is that the fact that they're able to understand the market, they're able to act quick and fast, and they leverage and harness they make a lot of their decisions based on data and not based on emotions or gut feels or things like that. A lot of it is based on data, and I think that's what enables them to really scale and continue to be way ahead of most of their competition. And so this is
Oh,
something I would like to copy, I will say.
right. And all of these guys had somewhat like early product market fit, right? What is your definition of product market fit, and how do you know that you have?
Right. When you first get someone that is willing to pay for your product, then it's a market fit. Until then, it's a habit. Now, people may want to say, listen, if you build a new network, a social network, yeah, you may not looking to have your customers pay for it, right? So that may not be necessarily the checkbox for that, right? But if you know that eventually your business model is making money off from transactions, somebody's buying something, right? Then the market fit is by the fact that somebody else is actually buying it, right? Buying your product. That's for me the market fit. If you're building something that is more like a freemium, I don't know, it's more like a social thing, and that, then the market fit, the parameters are different. That might be the number of users, numbers of shares. You can see the acceleration. You can see other means by people seeing the value of actually advertising or participating or actually connecting with your platform to enrich the ecosystems. Different aspects depends on your business model.
And you posted some video about AI the other day that I saw on your LinkedIn. Like, how are you using AI to make listings, or how are you using AI, period? What are your thoughts on that?
Sure. So for me, AI is, I'm saying it being cautious, okay? But AI is the future, okay? I do believe in that. Now, the way that the reason why we decided to deploy AI in HomeRoots is because we saw a gap between what our supplier base can do versus what our customers need. Okay, we saw that there is, on one hand, the suppliers, our suppliers, which is also a semi-customer, they're not tech people. They don't know technology. They don't necessarily know. They're merchandisers, right? They know how to sell goods, tangible goods, right? But yet they want to scale out there in the market. They want to be able to make sure that their products get more exposure than anybody else. Now, if you're only dealing with a small amount of products and you can handle it manually, it's not a big deal. But when you're dealing with a huge amount of catalog, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and millions of products, there's no way you can handle that manually, right? Therefore, you got to deploy AI. And so we realized that we need, in order to be able to support them at scale, we got to deploy AI. AI that will help generate elevated content, that will be on top of ever-changing keywords, and be able to generate images that such a way that is appealing to customers, and we're able to actually get more exposure and more conversions to our customers, to our sellers. Now, as far as our customer base, customers, they're also, many of them, they're also merchants in their nature, right? They're also not techie people by nature. If you have someone who has a storefront who operates 10 stores on the street, they're not techie people. You talk IT, you talk AI, I don't know, it goes over their head. This is not what they're specializes in. So for us, we say, okay, if we can tap into their backend system, but yet we can help tune it, leveraging AI, leveraging the best practices of what other systems or other retailer systems are doing, then we could take the best out of all. So we actually deployed AI for both sides of the equations. And we took the hardship and the ownership for that on us, but we can see the differences, and we can see how retailers are actually valuing us a lot more because they're seeing that we're fitting them like a glove on the hand, right? And they love us. Listen, I love AI, despite all the risks of that. And you gotta mention it. But I'll mention one more thing about AI, just for people to know, because there's some aura around AI that it can do everything and launch and forget and just train it a bit and everything. Not exactly. You still need to have someone, still you need to have a brain of a human being. From time to time, audit the output and keep on fine-tuning it all the time. Sometimes, like any other employee that you may hire, right? They have a brains, they can do things, but sometimes they run into scenarios that they never experienced before. And if you're not there to watch them, they can go sideways to areas that you don't want them to go, right? So keep a tap on the AI, watch it, monitor it, still put an eyeball on it, but it can do amazing things. I love it.
People that want to get into entrepreneurship, what would you tell?
One, be ready to work extremely hard. Be ready to sacrifice things. If you're not ready to sacrifice things, then don't get into it. That's one thing. Second thing, if you're in it for the money, don't get into it. You're gonna break. Trust me, it's not worth the money. You can make money better. You can make more money elsewhere. Trust me. At least at the first couple of years. If you're in it for the fame, don't get into it. Fame doesn't come very easily. So most likely it will come way after you're already gonna break. So don't that not be your reason. You need to get into entrepreneurship if one, you're willing to sacrifice, and second, you really, but really deep down inside you believe that your idea will make a difference, that your idea is the right idea, and you're willing to bet almost, I'm not saying all in, I don't want to push people to bankruptcy, but I'm saying to push almost everything you got towards that goal, because it's hard. It's hard. Okay.
Best question for the best or most spicy one. How would you solve the current Hamas-Israel conflict?
Oh, that's a good question. For me, there should be no more conflict. Should be no more Hamas. That's it. Once they're done, maybe, not in my generation, but maybe in the next generation or the generation afterwards, there will be peace.
And that's it. Because yeah,
Very
it's
simple. Very simple.
simple, but yeah, there's always collateral when you try to eliminate folks, and I think yeah. Because if you check, like, for example, US reaction to 9/11, they tried to eliminate Al Qaeda. Were they successful? I'm not too sure. I mean, you can't
And it's
never
hard to kill
eradicate
the idea.
something.
Listen, it's
Yeah,
hard to kill
exactly.
the idea. Idea is listen, the idea spread well beyond Hamas. Hamas is one group that is related to much bigger entity, right? So it's a single group in a much bigger entity in a bigger world than just that. So even if you, and I'm sure, listen, the military capabilities, the governance capabilities, those will be eliminated. I have no doubt about it. The idea is not something that can just be solved by just that conflict alone. The idea is something that has to happen in years to come, and that's why I truly believe that in our generation, Charles, and I consider us to be in the same generation, we won't have peace on earth. We won't, because it requires education. That requires education to tolerance, to acceptance of the other. That's not something that can be achieved over a year or two or a decade. That's something that people grow up on. That takes time. And but I want to be optimistic. I got to be optimistic that maybe my grandchildren will have a more pleasant reality.
Right. I think yeah, like you said, education. Because once an idea like festers in your mind, like you take all your pain, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, the Jews are responsible for it. It's like a very simplistic but uh incredibly false assumption. Just like when we get angry at people, and we try to justify stuff that just doesn't make sense. Like yeah, it's quite hard to reshape that. And yeah, there is a case to be made to ease humanity's pain, because some people just have too much of it, and then they try to convert it into weapons, and yeah, just cause more pain. So very complex
I'll tell
one.
you, I'll tell you a story about myself, personal story about myself on the
Yeah.
topic, which is quite relevant actually to what's happening right now. So, like many, I grew up in Israel, right? I've been in the US for the past 21, almost, yeah, 21 years, more than 21 years I've been in the US, right? But I grew up in Israel, and I did serve in the military in Israel. I served in a combat position. And part of my serving time was in Gaza. Pre-Hamas, pre them, not Hamas existed back then, but they were not the one who governed Gaza. Okay, it was more the Palestinian Authority. For me as a soldier, just on my own personal experience, I recall myself in my unit many times we were preparing food for children. We were carrying Palestinian children to hospitals. Things that we're soldiers. That's really not our thing. But we saw their suffering, and we did everything that we can do as human beings to help. Now, not once, I saw the media writing things as if we kidnapped children, as if we actually took away the water instead of bringing. They were running things backwards. Now, it's for yourself that this is those are lies. This is not true. You know it deep inside you because you've been there. But you can't. It's extremely difficult to fight media that wants to show you on the wrong side. It's impossible. It's almost impossible. It's very tough. And now, even faster than ever, back in the day, it was just on TV, right? Now, something like this happened, it spreads like fire. You got TikTok, you got social media, you got YouTube, you got it all over. Go ahead and fight it. It's like it's almost, and by the time you actually fight it and you dispute and you can show that this was not true, people already forgot and they moved on to the next thing. The damage has already been done. So this is something that it's I tell you, this is one of the most challenging things that someone can be combating, not to mention the existing situation, right? This is, and I'm being very, I'm trying to be extremely elegant about the way I'm describing it. But I know with my own truth that this is a lot of the things that are being portrayed, they're blunt lies, nothing to do with reality. It's very unfortunate. I've seen it in the past. Listen, I had situations where kids were sent by their parents to throw stones at us. I'm talking about 5, 6, 7 years old. They used to give them their guns, their rifles, that heavy, like they could hardly even carry it, to point at us. Those are kids of my, younger than my current kids, right? But they were kids. Now, in this old, I mean, 18, 19, 20 years old, 21 years old. Now you have a 6, 7 years old boy or girl aiming a weapon at you. So sometimes you try to joke with them, you try to maybe pass a soccer ball, you try to break it through different means, like to try to kind of, because at the end of the day, you try to think, okay, those guys are, the kids are being brainwashed, but they're still kids. So maybe they like to play ball. Maybe they like to, I don't know, they like a certain TV show. Try to break it through this way. But you see how the media is being portrayed. They see like a soldier standing in front of a kid, and look at the big soldier against this young kid, and look what he's gonna do to him. And they're trying to. It's a. I really feel bad for soldiers today. Back in the day, you only had some TVs that were like really like zooming into what you were doing, certain TV channels. Now it's like everybody has their phone, you know. You don't need much to spread things on fire. It's challenging, but the way to solve it is that you got everybody to put the truth on the table, deal with the truth, how hard it can be. Deal with that, and then you can really negotiate terms about the truth and run around it. Otherwise, you're never ever going to solve the problem. Definitely not in our generation. I don't think it's solved.
Yeah, very challenging. I mean, because media are specialized to manipulate human emotions for money. It's really unethical. It's one of my fights, So yeah, let's fight for that one together, for real information, and not for information that manipulates emotions, like facts and stats. I think it's really about time that someone takes care of that. Elon, I think, is trying to go for that, but I'm not sure if he even wants that. Like you see him joking all the time on Twitter, and like, yeah. Anyway, that's a big one. Thanks for
A
coming
big
on,
topic.
Gil. Yeah, where can people find out more about you?
Okay, so one, personally, I'm on LinkedIn a lot. You just look for Gil Bar Lev on LinkedIn, you find me. HomeRoots, our website is homeroots.co. Anybody can go in if you want to buy, if you want to register, if you want to sell. The journey starts from homeroots.co. More than happy to invite everybody. Reach out, ask questions, get educated. We help many, many businesses, even during COVID time. We rescued actually many businesses. We're more than happy to do it for more. We're very passionate about what we're doing. And I wish everybody great success.